Yesterday I heard when I woke up the very unfortunate news about Muhammad Ali that died. Apparently he was battling for his life in a coma, and yeah, life just took the better out of him. I mean, we all die at some point, and it was his turn now. Apparently he was in the hospital laying in the coma, and all of his organs had failed, were giving up, and his heart kept pumping for another 30 minutes, and it was apparently a story that in the medical scene they have never heard before. It's maybe a little bit over the top, but this is a very rare case, and that's what I wanted to do as sort of a tribute towards Muhammad Ali, because I know that, let me put it this way, I know him not in person, but as a person, and not as a boxer, not as a performer. I am pretty young, I'm 19 at the moment, so Ali's boxing career was over by a long time over than when I was born. But you know, he's still, like, got buddies of mine who are like super into the Muhammad, the typical motivational videos on YouTube, also always future Muhammad, and so I kind of know him as a person and what he did, what he was been like, who he was. So that's what I want to talk about today. I want to tribute, my tribute is to explore some of the psychology of this amazing fighter, this amazing human, even more amazing human being. He was such a wonderful person to be around, and that's what I want to explore. So, why is he the greatest? Because everybody's calling him like that. I'm not saying it's wrong, I'm saying it's pretty accurate. And sincerely, when you see his boxing career, he finished 56 in 5, I thought it was, something like that, and like 3 of the fights he lost were in his later career, like at the very end of it. So like 3 of the 5 losses were at the 4 last games, the 4 last boxing matches he played. So, but because most people remember him as a boxer and a very silver-tongued speaker, but there was more to the man than just appearances, performance and show. It's like, okay, just let's look at how he started from an early age. So he started boxing at around 12 years old, and the story goes that he was that his bike got stolen. They wanted to beat up the thief. So he went to the local police officer, who also happened to be training in boxing. What a coincidence. And yeah, the police officer told him, yeah, then you need to learn how to box first. So from there on, the police officer trained him in boxing, became pretty successful, winning his first lightweight medal in 1960, I think it was. I'm just giving a few details, a few bits of history to give more of an appropriate context. I'm not a historian, not by far. There are people who can tell the story of his life better than me, but I just want to explore the psychology that went behind him, because what he then did is evolved, so to say, later in his life on, when he was like against all those opponents where he was fierce. He publicly mocked them the whole time. So he had something of a, how do you say it, like, don't mess with me kind of vibe. And he always saw himself as a visionary and always called himself the greatest. And I think somewhere he said that when he's calling himself the greatest all the time, he thought to himself, if I tell them people enough that I am the greatest, they will eventually start believing, which is an absolutely true fact. And that's something I'm not necessarily sure if it's just, you know, to boost his confidence. It was not to boost his ego or something. I think he just wanted to make the world a better place. Make the world, leave it better behind. And I think boxing was a means to get like publicity, get a little bit famous. So yeah, he always had the mocking. Then he started fighting and going serious. He got 29-0, a winning streak, 29 wins without a loss in his career. That's pretty sick if you ask me. I couldn't do the same. But then the Vietnam War broke out and we started to see his personality fade more into the general, the public view. His thinking became also a lot more clear. By then he was converted to Islam and renamed his self from Cassius Clay to Muhammad Ali because, quote unquote, it was a slave name, Cassius Clay. So he joined the Islam. He said he couldn't join because of religious belief also, and of course because he thought it was unjust, which is absolutely true. They basically conscripted him and forced him to go there, else he would go to jail. Of course he refused because he didn't find it just. At the time he was, I think, 25 years old. He had 29 wins in a row. He was at the height of his career. There was no stopping him except for that. And he lost his boxing title because of his religious beliefs, because of his vision, because he wanted to make the world a better place. And to me that's something so striking, something that I've always appreciated about him. He stuck to his guns, is maybe not the right metaphor, but he used his own words to fix his own deeds. He talked a lot, I think everybody can agree on that, but he always delivered his promise. He always kept his word, followed up, and that's something his personality really shined through, because we all know him, like, at least the general public always saw him as a silver-tongued, you know, shit talker, smack talker towards his opponents, cocky maybe. I can imagine he didn't have too much fans. So all those things, he applied his own style and techniques into the boxing world. He was of course known for his quick feet and his dodges and stuff, but so that's it. He was authentic, he was himself, he had a vision, he chose who he wanted to be, not what anybody else told him to. Things like that can make him unique in a sense, something we all appreciate. He had enormously big amount of confidence throughout most of his career, I think, and especially like the what was it, the famous Rumble in the Jungle fight where you need to fight George Foreman, where he made like such bold statements, such provocative comments towards Mr. Foreman, that it wasn't like, it was psychological warfare, and it seemed to work a bit. And like Muhammad Ali was so confident by himself, because at the time when the fight was, George Foreman was 40-0. So, you know, Muhammad Ali at that point was 44-2, and George Foreman was 14-0. Now, you know, that makes up for a pretty big fight. And Muhammad Ali then also had the integrity to keep, you know, smack talking and keep the vision. Not necessarily because he hated the guy or he wanted him dead. No, because he knew that if he could get in the other person's head, like win that battle, he knew he could win the fight more easily. And that's also with him, because I think they were pretty good friends afterwards, after the fight. But that all plays a role, and like there's a moment where like they were fighting, and in the 7th or 8th round, Foreman was getting a little bit tired because he was used to doing the big punches, like the one knockout punches, and like I don't know exactly when it happened in the match, but it was later on. And then at a moment, Muhammad whispered into his ear and said, "Is that all you got, George?" So yeah, if somebody says something like that, you're exhausted already. You know, it can get the little over the top. You're pretty much sure you lost. And that's things like that is what made his personality and his psychology so great. The reason probably was because he used so many metaphors, so many ways to describe things and to picture things. It's pretty important since we all picture things in our minds as a whole. So it's like the pictures we see in our head that determine how we feel and how we behave. If you can influence them with powerful metaphors, you will get very powerful emotions. And that's exactly what Ali probably did in his head. Like, because he has a quote, a man with no imagination has no wings, or something along those lines. And that kind of proves the powerful imagination he used daily, probably when he was training and such, to keep him training, because he also wasn't the biggest fan of training. What was it? He said something like, "Don't quit. If you quit now, you will regret it. You need to suffer now to live the rest of your life as a champion." It's paraphrase, so not the exact words. I will link them up. But like he knew how important training was and how to, you know, keep your feet quick. And he focused so much, like it was all part of the vision plan. He was always thinking about the future, trying to be the nicest, greatest guy ever, something we can all appreciate. Even, yeah, like he went from college to college to inspire people, to talk, to give talks. I think that's even how Mike Tyson started his boxing career, because he heard Mr. Muhammad Ali give a talk, was so inspired that he decided to start a boxing career of his own. Not entirely sure of that one, but he became such a public figure, especially with the Vietnam War that was going on. It was amazing. He was an amazingly good person, and he didn't brag about it or anything. Like, he kept it under the radar how good of a person he was, but he was genuinely cared about a lot of people. I know there's an incident that's going viral at the moment, where Muhammad Ali talked. Somebody was suicidal and standing on top of a building to jump. He talked him out of that, promised him to you know, deliver, come see him a week later. He had also his own training camp where he interacted with people. You know, he was a fun social guy. wonderful father apparently. So, you know, he was generally a person where we could look up to, you know. So much that he got so many media attention, so many, you know, he was one of the few people that actually gets valued for their integrity, authenticity and vision. Not necessarily because the one person had a scandal or anything. Things like that made him the greatest, made him proud. And that's something we can all, yeah, I mean that's a reason why everybody looked up to him, looked nice to him. I mean, even me. I didn't know the guy. I knew him pretty much in person because of all the YouTube videos. But like, he showed me what I could be, you know? He gave me examples, like not personally of course, but through his media appearances and such. He showed me what a great person looked like. It was wonderful. Like, I was this little autistic kid, depressed as fuck, trying to find some guidance, some help in the world. And here you have the man himself teaching and preaching good values, good things to withhold, and to be like that, like to be. He gave, in a sense, some direction and guidance towards me, other than the motivational part. You know, it's a rag to riches story, and like, it was kind of an example to me, and that's why I'm pretty like also making this tribute, because I'm not saying I'm a lifelong fan of his or anything, but I did appreciate what the message he was trying to convey, and I think the message reached pretty much through my heart. So things like that made an impact. He changed everybody's lives almost. Even in psychology, they named a funny effect towards him. It's just called the Muhammad Ali effect, and it basically states that if you ask people to rate themselves based on moral guidelines or moral or intelligence, people will tend to be like rate themselves morally a lot higher than intelligent. So, for an example, like, we will only see ourselves a little bit smarter, and we will see the compared to the other guy, a lot more moral, a lot more just, a lot more good. He had all the good values and the good spirits we humans want, and that's something what really made him the greatest. Not necessarily his boxing title and his wins, although those are incredibly impressive, but he had everything a human wanted to have in this world. And yeah, he helped others a lot, and that's something we all appreciate about him, and we all will miss him for him. What can I say? It's a sad day to see him gone. He will be certainly missed, but rest in peace, brother. Rest in peace.